All right, so in this section, we're going to do a quick run through on how to use one of the many AI text to image generators. In this case, I'm going to be showing you how to use Nightcafe. Now, as I've mentioned in the instructions, there are many other examples of software on the internet that you can use. If you're familiar with ChatGPT and you have a subscription, you can have a conversation with ChatGPT and have them work on building some pictures for you. You can do it like that. Through X, you can use a new platform called Grok 3. And that one very similar. You can have a conversation with it. I like Night Cafe. To me, it's just maybe a little bit more interesting. Um, it's a fun platform to play with as well, anyways. And not everybody has a ChatGPT subscription. Not everybody uses X. And this one is free to use. Obviously, it uses a token system. So what you will need to do is you will need to log in, create a new user if you need to. You can do that with your Google, your Gmail address, or any email address. And it will give you a specific number of credits to begin with. Now, one thing to remember is everything costs credits on here. There are different options, um, and different settings that you can build into your model that will give you different kind of styles and abilities, and different ones cost a different amount of credits. Now, every day you get an extra 5 free credits. You can complete a few things like filling out your profile or making enough images, and then it will give you even more free credits. So really, there's no way to really run out. Um, and that's one thing that I really like about this. I don't have to have a subscription, um, and I'm not going to really run out of credits. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to use from my example document here, the tale of Nalotu and Savu, the two Polynesian tribes. Okay, I'm going to use some of the yeah, some of the prompts that I created. All right, so I'm going to take number two here. Right? And this is why we build the prompts, right? We've written the story out, and we look through this story and we go, okay, so this is a section that would be great as a picture. Like if I could make a picture of this, it would be a good picture in a book, right? And we want to make some things like that, but how do we describe those things? We don't want to just copy and paste what's written here. We need something a little bit more simple, that one of these AI image generators is going to be able to understand and create off of. All right. If it's too long, too descriptive, uses too many like place names or people's names or things like that, it's not going to make a lot of sense. Right. So you want things to stay at least to some degree simple. Okay. So we'll take this and we'll put it in. Let's go up to create. Okay. So up here, you can see your total number of credits. Now, I go in and I log in, I refresh the page every day and I get my extra 5. So, like, I've added a whole bunch of credits over time. And so I can just kind of, yeah, and you can get endless credits, really. Okay, when you start thinking about it. Say free credits available, unlock them now. So, what we're going to do first is we're going to choose an AI image generator to use. Now, there are a lot of models, and it's going to start you out, it's going to put you on a default of one of the most expensive models. All right. Now, you can see the costs here, right? There's various different costs. Some of them are pro, which means that they cost extra. And then you can see some like this Dream Shaper, Flux Schnell. There's a few of them that are very, very cheap. Okay. Um, Now I use this one. I've used this one as well, but this one is just it's one of the cheapest ones on here, and it does a pretty good job. Okay. You can see kind of like how they do on certain things, right? It's fairly good at realism. It doesn't do very well with text in the images, but I don't need any text in my images anyways. Um, so anyways, we'll play with this one, okay? And I'm just gonna paste in that prompt, which I guess I didn't copy. Okay, there we go. Um, Yeah, and I'm going to add one word here actually, just to make sure that we get something from like a Polynesian style island. All right. So I'm going to say a peaceful beach at sunrise where the Polynesian villagers carefully collect. All right. Okay. And the next thing that we need to do, we need to say our style. And this is where we can get a little bit creative, where you can't necessarily do this with ChatGPT or with the platform on X. All right. This one you can kind of choose what style do you want your images to be in, right? And they've got lots of different styles. We've got um, all sorts of things, right? What if maybe you want to do it as an anime style or whatever. I like using cinematic style. That's the one that I like. If you want something to be a little bit more realistic, they have some options here. We're creating a story, right? A mythical story, and so we don't necessarily need things to be super realistic. Um, so actually, I think I'm gonna try something different today. Let's maybe go with Let's go with the anime one. See what we can get out of this, okay? And then the last section that we need to choose is the number of images. I always choose four. That way I've got a few options and I don't have to redo over and over again. All right. Four is enough. I mean, you can go all the way up to 16, but you can see that takes 8 credits. Four images only takes 2 credits, okay, which is great. Um, and the rest, I'm good with the rest of these settings. I don't need to worry about a challenge or anything like that. And then we just click create. It'll take a couple minutes. Sometimes it's really fast, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. It also depends on how many other people are using this platform at the same time. Um, so we'll see what we get here. All right, and there we go. So this one to me, this one looks really great because you can see that she's collecting things, although these are vegetables, it looks like. But she is at least near the beach, as a little bit closer up. These ones are a little bit further away styles, although this one has like a fishing boat in the background. This one you can see a little bit more of a village style. So you've got four different options here, and the way that it does this is it gives you these 5 images here. This one is the kind of like the quick view for four in one image. But if we want to see this image a little bit closer, right? Like, yeah, I mean, it looks like she's collecting vegetables or maybe even just rocks. But that's one thing also to keep in mind when you are building these images is AI does its best. It is not perfect. This is a whole lot better than anything I could ever imagine drawing or painting myself. All right. So for me, as someone who wants to build a story, create a story, and make it visual, this is a huge tool for me because I could never do this on my own. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. She's not holding clams. She's not digging for clams. She's not collecting fish. You can kind of get the whole general atmosphere of the thing, right? There are fishing boats. She's near the beach. She is harvesting something, right? And for the purposes of telling a story the way that we're doing it, that might be good enough. Another thing to keep in mind, cultural aspects, right? This is always a big issue that comes up. I live in Kyrgyzstan, and I know what a traditional Kyrgyz person who lives out in the mountains, etc., I know what they look like. And when I type in prompts to elicit that idea, I get somebody who I see and I know that's not what a Kyrgyz person looks like, right? Because I know, right? Same with you in the place where you live. If you asked it, like for example, this person is certainly not a Polynesian villager, right? Keep in mind, anime always makes everything kind of look the same, so we kind of did that to ourselves, choosing that style. All right. But let's actually go. Let's change this to so we can rerun this as let's say cinematic. Um, yeah, let's rerun it as cinematic. Okay, and we'll create new ones. Same prompt. Okay, the prompt is still there. Okay, little advertisement. And we're running a new version of this just with a different style. Okay, and we're going to see. But the issue is a lot of times people create some images and they're like, oh, well, that's not what someone from my culture looks like. It's like, okay, you're right, it's not. Is it close enough for what you need to tell a story? Because chances are a lot of the people that are going to be watching your story will know exactly the same amount about your culture as AI does, which is not very much. So just keep that in mind. You're not going to get a perfect image that you just love. All right. I'm not super happy about this one. All right. They're supposed to be collecting clams and fish. Nobody's collecting any clams and fish. There's just a bunch of people hanging out on the beach. Do they look Polynesian? I mean, maybe a little bit, but not really. Okay. Um, But we do have an old tribal elder teaching children, or at least hanging out with children. But they're not doing the activity that we asked. Is this a perfect image? No. We might be able to play with the prompt a little bit. Um, what if we just take this part away? Right? If we take this part away, where now I've just said it's just a beach, Polynesians on the beach collecting clams and fish. All right. Now it has only one idea to come up with. It doesn't have two ideas, right? Because in the last prompt we had they are collecting things, but they're also learning things from a village elder. Okay? And so it had two separate ideas that it had to somehow combine into one image. So now we've got maybe something a little bit more appropriate in terms of we have people on the beach who look like they could potentially be Polynesian, right? If you're from Polynesia, you're going to look at this and you're going to be like, ah, it's definitely not someone from Polynesia. But they look like they maybe could be, right? For example, in Kyrgyzstan, people traditionally have lived in yurts and they have a lot of felt clothing with lots of specific designs. And when someone from Kyrgyzstan looks at them, they know that they are from Kyrgyzstan. When a foreigner looks at someone from Mongolia or someone from Kazakhstan or someone from Kyrgyzstan, likely they won't be able to tell a difference. Even though for the person who knows the culture, they know it's not correct. Okay, same thing. I can say they could be Polynesian, but someone from Polynesia will be like, no, 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 no. The facial features are all wrong. Like, there's no way that they would wear these clothes. That's definitely not a Polynesian person, right? Again, this is AI, text to image. It's not going to be perfect. So please don't get hung up on that while you're creating this project. Okay. Um, Another issue that we come up against. So this one works. This one works just fine. So let's take that second half. All right. Now we've got these two people. Remember what they look like. And I'm going to add Polynesian in here again, an old Polynesian tribal elder, wise expression, da 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 da. Okay. And we'll run this. Okay. We will not get these same two people. We won't. And it's not really possible through free programs like this. There are paid programs. One example is Midjourney, and Midjourney has something called main character mode, where you can tell it, all right, this is the person, and I want them to be in every single one of my images. And so you end up being able to tell a story a little bit better. Now, can I still use these photos? Absolutely, right? This one would work fine, right? They're at the beach. There's an elder who, you know, this probably is not any kind of traditional Polynesian thing that he's got around his neck and shoulders. All right. And, are the kids Polynesian or not? Is he a Polynesian or not? It doesn't, for the sake of telling the story through these images, it doesn't necessarily matter 100%. Now, if this kind of thing is really, bothering you a lot, then you can maybe use something that's a little bit more, you know, cartoony or more like a painting. Okay, so let's do something like I don't know. Let's use matte. All right. I'm gonna switch down to just using one image. Just, just this is just an example. All right. And we're gonna see it's gonna be a little bit different. And maybe since we're not having such a realistic looking image for our own thought process, it might not cause as much of a dissonance for us. Right? Like now we know for sure that this is fake, right? This is not that there's no way that this could ever have been like a picture or something. We know that this is just like idealized, etc. And now we can't even see their faces, right? And so this is even more likely to be able to represent what you're looking for without you having to worry so much about like, but the hat that he's wearing is wrong, or like the dress that she has on, that's not the cultural dress that we would use, or something like that, right? Um, so again, try not to get so hung up on it. If you do, play around with your different styles until you get something that you are happy with, or play around with your text prompt until you get something that you're happy with. Remember, while you're doing this, you only get a certain number of free credits to start with, and then you get an extra 5 per day, right? And remember that different ones cost different amounts. And so if you want to be playing around with things, you need to make sure that you have enough credits or enough time before the deadline for your project in order to get enough free credits to make enough images. All right. Um, Now, really quick, lastly, in order to download, you'll just click this little download button and it'll download to your computer, and you can use that on video editing software later, which we'll look at in one of the next tutorials. Okay. So again, Night Cafe, super simple. Um, you're basically just choosing a model, choose a cheap one, putting in your text prompt, which you've already created based on the story that you have, right? And remember, keep those simple. Um, you can come back and play with it if you're not happy, okay? And choose a style, choose the number of images. I usually go with four. And then you find the one that you like, and you can download it. There are a few other things that you can do here, right? If you find one that you really like and you would like the image quality to be a little bit higher, you can use this thing called upscale, and it will increase the resolution of your image. Generally, for the kind of videos that you're going to be creating, you don't need to worry about doing an upscale. It's going to look fine on a YouTube video. You can do some selective editing. You can animate certain images. You can animate, but you have to use a specific thing. Here, I'll show you what I mean. You would have to use one of these models. Now, you can do this 5 times. You have 5 free pro generations to start with as soon as you've joined in. And there are a couple different options here. Okay. Um, and yeah, here I've got 40 credits to animate with Luma animation. And all it's going to do, it's going to change things to, I'm going to get 5 seconds in order to do this. And sorry, it will cost me 40 credits in order to do that. That's a lot of credits. Okay, so generally speaking, don't worry about using the animate here, but you can do a few different things to improve or to make the quality a little bit better. But generally speaking, what it spits out, this is just great for what you want in your videos, in your story videos. Right. So, like I said, there's all sorts of features on Night Cafe. I love using Night Cafe. If you want to play with some other ones, like I said, there's ChatGPT, there's Grok 3 now. There's also, like I said, Midjourney, but that one's paid. Um, and there's some other ones as well that you can find online. There's loads of things out there these days. But this is the one that I'm recommending as I use it the most often. So, good luck, and let's see what kind of great images you can come up with to tell your story.